BoJack Horseman is one of my favourite TV shows of all time. It's a hilarious and emotionally driven show with a huge cast of interesting characters. But there is one character who sticks out for me, and he probably did for you if you've seen the first couple of seasons. And that man, or rather children, is Vincent Adultman. Vincent Adultman is a strange character, even for BoJack standards. He's a character who, upon first glance, just as BoJack says, looks like three kids stacked on top of each other under a trench coat. But I've always been a bit skeptical of this. Could it be possible that Vincent Adultman is actually who he says? Okay, that probably sounds ridiculous, but let's go through all the scenes with this character to try and make a conclusion on whether or not Vincent really is an adult man. Okay, first let's go over all the evidence to support this character actually being three kids stacked on top of each other. We first meet Vincent Adultman at a bar in Season 1's Horse Majeure. Princess Carolyn is sick of BoJack's schemes to try and stop Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter's wedding, and goes up to the first person she sees, Vincent Adultman. Vincent likes business transactions, and based on his voice is very clearly a child, and he even grows clearly nervous when BoJack suggests that he is in fact three kids under a trench coat. We see him again later that episode as BoJack has a conversation with him. BoJack reveals that he isn't jealous that Vincent is with PC, but rather that he doesn't like the idea that he can never be with her, even if he doesn't want to right now. People have taken this scene as evidence that Vincent doesn't really look like this, and that the way Vincent looks is a metaphor for how BoJack views him. I don't really think that makes too much sense though. We clearly see multiple scenes later on where BoJack is nowhere to be seen, and PC mentions things Vincent does that a child would very clearly do. He then strokes BoJack, calling him a good horsey. We next see Vincent in the season final, later. He states that he went to the stock market and did a business. Okay. Still, he could just speak weird and put the words in a strange order. PC tells BoJack that they're going through a rough patch due to him working a full-time job at the business factory and coming home only to watch R-rated movies. The business factory. Seriously? Okay, I'm sure what he really means by the business factory is home to his mum, right? Later on, PC decides to end her relationship with Vincent until the end of the episode where he bursts in and apologizes to her, confessing his love, and they live happily ever after. Vincent appears briefly in Yesterdayland, where he gets annoyed over getting adult braces. And then we come to the episode after the party. In this episode, Princess Carolyn and Todd are driving home when they see a kid who looks identical to Vincent, walking with his mum. Furious, PC assumes that Vincent has had a secret child with another woman. We get a couple of funny moments from PC who seems to get everything right but also wrong, saying that he's like three different people, and the reason he wears a trench coat all the time is because he's sneaky.
Vincent has a terrible temper. He throws tantrums. If he finds you in my apartment, who knows what he's capable of? But also, stay close, because if he finds me alone, who knows what he's capable of?
She gets a knock at the door and it's Vincent, but as a kid, who even has the same coloured braces. This is clearly the same person. He introduces himself as Kevin and even knows exactly where the bathroom is. Vincent then arrives at the door and confesses that Kevin is his child and he is divorced. Vincent then goes to check on Kevin. Every time we see these two together, something is obstructing Vincent's face, clearly making it seem like the other two kids controlling Vincent are being his head at the moment, so obviously they would have to hide their faces. All adds up, right? Every time PC looks away, we hear noises to suggest that Kevin is going into the Vincent disguise, and then PC's bowling ball disappears, right as Vincent gets a cloth on his head. Everything is incredibly obvious. Kevin is Vincent, and that's about all we get. After this, the two break up, ending the Vincent Adultman saga. So, case closed, right? Vincent is, as BoJack said, three kids stacked on top of each other. Except, if this really was the case, then why does Kevin have two freckles on his face when Vincent very clearly has four? This is clearly done by the animators to show that Vincent and Kevin are not the same person. Let me ask you this. have you ever stopped to consider how 3 kids would even fit under the trench coat? Like, Vincent is tall, but not tall enough to assume that 3 kids the same size as Kevin would all be able to fit under. 2 kids under it seems a lot more believable. In fact, this is a theory that has been going around for a while now, and at first it definitely seems possible. With Vincent's knowledge on divorce, and the fact that we only saw 1 child with Kevin's mum, it's pretty reasonable to assume that Kevin's mum and dad are divorced, explaining where Vincent was with his dad. It all seems to make sense. Vincent and Kevin are behind the disguise, Kevin as the bottom half and Vincent as the top. But there is one thing that keeps this from being a plausible theory. Kevin has blue shoes when Vincent clearly has black, meaning that Kevin is not the bottom half of Vincent. This can only mean one of 2 things. Either there is somehow a 3rd child who is controlling the bottom half of Vincent, and Kevin is the middle section, or Vincent really is an adult man. The show definitely makes you think that it's 3 kids, but then who is the 3rd child? We know that Kevin and Vincent are related, whether that be as twin brothers or Vincent really is his dad, but this supposed 3rd child? Not only could he not fit under the trench coat, but we also never get any sign in the show of who it could be. And this had me thinking, could Vincent genuinely be a full person? I mean, this guy has a broom and a mannequin as arms. He isn't an actual person, is he? Well, let's take a look back at the scene from after the party. As I was rewatching it, I noticed something in one of the scenes, and that's this shot. Even if that head is supposedly a bowling ball, as Princess Carolyn hints, if there usually is 3 kids under there, then how can Vincent still have legs and a clear belly and be in control of his hands? There is no way this would be possible. Say there is 2 people under there. If they're able to control Vincent just fine, then why would they need a 3rd person? If Kevin's shoes don't match the shoes we see on Vincent, and he isn't the top half because the freckles don't match, then this means that Kevin would have to be the middle half. And even if we ignore the fact that PC is not turned around for enough time for Kevin to get into the middle section of Vincent, there is no way that Vincent would still have that prominent belly if their middle person isn't there. Therefore, the only explanation is that Vincent is an adult man. Maybe the real reason Vincent wears a trench coat is because he is insecure on his looks. He very clearly has some kind of body growth disorder, and this can even explain why he uses objects as arms, and why he is clearly uncomfortable when anyone questions his looks. He's trying to hide the truth, not the fact that he's 3 kids stacked on top of each other, but rather that his body is disfigured, and he doesn't like the idea of anyone seeing his true self. So he hides every part of it. And if all of this still isn't enough for you, then how come in Higher Love we see Vincent working in the business factory? Granted, it seems he isn't doing a very good job, but wouldn't you think that if Vincent's 3 children layers really did have a full-time job at the business factory, their parents would be a bit concerned as to where they were. Even if they were thought to be at school, Vincent has been seen multiple times at night. We even see Vincent at the business factory in brand new couch, and when you look on his laptop you can see an increasing chart with the words business transactions and stock market.
He works a full-time job at the business factories.
I like business. Transactions?
Business. Is that all you ever think about?
I don't know. I went to the stock market today. I did a business. Business-wise, this all seems like appropriate business.
Vincent was telling the truth this entire time, and we were too stupid to see it. But there was one thing about this whole theory that was bugging me. As I said earlier, we've seen Vincent out at night, but then again, he could have just snuck out of his room or anything. And with school finishing at 3 o'clock in most places, who's to say that his job doesn't finish before then, giving him just enough time to be able to be picked up by his mum? Well, their mums. I needed something definitive to prove that Vincent was not 3 kids. And that's when I realised something. In the last episode of season 1, we get this from Mr. Peanut Butter.
Vincent Adultman, how are things at the old 9 to 5?
Good. I went to the stock market today. I did a business.
Vincent works a 9 till 5. 5. There is nowhere where an elementary school finishes at 5. Even with some kind of after-school club, it will not go on past 4, meaning that even if Vincent and the other 2 kids were skipping school, there is no way they wouldn't be found out. Vincent Adultman rarely is an adult man. He may speak weird, he may look weird, he may have a very suspicious trench coat, but he is a man. He has a full-time job at the business factory. He rarely does enjoy business transactions and the stock market, and he does multiple businesses, whatever that means. Vincent is a sad character, a character who had a child, got divorced, and then found his love in Princess Carolyn, but it didn't work out in the end. And that is the Vincent Adultman theory. Thank you for watching.
Do you know the reason why I have resisted bringing Vincent Adultman back?
I do not.
It's because time moves forward on this show, and characters age.
So he wouldn't be able to pull this off anymore.
Right. Or yeah. So either he would be older, and that would be clear, or he would not be older because Vincent Adultman was always who he was. Right. And for me, the magic of the joke is the ambiguity of it. And I think you can't prolong that over time because, yes, if it is children, they would age.
Yes.
And if it is a man, he would age differently.